Peace, y'all. I'm DW. My pronouns are they, them.
Peace, I'm Kinga, pronouns she, they, and we are a counterculture educator. We help creative leaders turn around the culture of their communities one authentic relationship at a time through community engagement, artistic expression, self-care, and play.
Word. And you're watching Counterculture Conversations with the Homies. And the reason why we have Counterculture Conversations with the Homies is because we have a whole bunch of really, really dope homies that we think you should know and learn about how incredible they are in their lives. And we have a wonderful, wonderful homie that I'm going to introduce you. But first, I want to do the land acknowledgement. So we want to acknowledge that we're sitting on the intersection of Nipmuc, Pocumtuck, and Wabanaki lands. And now, as we get into it, we know the homie as Michael, but we want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself and do not be shy. Take it away.
All right. Hi, guys. I'm Michael Davis. I am a father, a storyteller, a photographer, creative, a Black man, and I'm here. Like I like existing and figuring out what that looks like and enjoying life one day at a time.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question for you guys.
Okay.
So I know this is YouTube, but did you ever think about doing this like a Facebook watch party? If you did, we can do it now.
Wait, what you mean?
What Michael's saying is that what I'm hearing you say is that you want to do a Facebook watch party right now on your profile.
No, I'm saying if you wanted to do that, I wouldn't be against it. That's all. But we can keep.
You mean doing that right now?
Yeah.
This moment.
Oh. Well.
Never mind. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I see the hesitation. Don't worry about it.
No, I'm saying maybe in the future. Maybe in the future.
Yeah.
Because this
because that was like when we talked about, offline before about like transparency, like I enjoy those spaces,
of being live.
And not being live, but just being vulnerable is like a practice in vulnerability for me,
yeah.
That, I know that whatever I record on my cell phone or my camera, I can then go back and edit. Mm-hmm. Like I can go back and perfect.
Yeah.
But when you're performing live, it's like, this is me. Like I'm here, like all of my glory, which is why when you were like, I do the lives of me exercising and then behind the scenes and things like that. And it's just like, I enjoy the practice of vulnerability of putting myself out there, and it makes me a stronger person and more acknowledging of the spaces that I exist in. Mm-hmm. That was a lot. But that was all. I just didn't know if you guys were interested, and if you were, I was just inviting you to take. I'm a willing experiment participant. That's all.
So look, I love the way you presented that. It's so funny.
I mean, my only thought is that we have some conversations that we've already recorded, and we wanted to put them out.
That's fine.
As how we have them. And so I think right now we'll just stick to recording, but I absolutely agree with everything you said. And I really enjoy being live as well. It really puts you on the spot, and it's like there's nothing that you can take away from it. And I like that the live, when you go live, you also can go back and watch the recording. I think that there's something special about
yes. There's jewels in it. So I'm a part of this mastermind photography group that's primarily Black creatives are in the group. And so I did a live consultation actually. I had a phone consult, and I got on my computer, and then I just went live in my group and literally just did the whole phone consult live. And saw like all the comments come in. There's like 60 people in the group that are like watching me have like talking to a bride and a groom, live. So earlier that week, I hosted a mock consultation with some, we call each other cousins, because it's, you know, just a Black family. So with some of my other cousins, and giving them the opportunity to practice their consultations or practice their scripts via Zoom, you know? And then so I was like, oh, I have an actual consultation. I was like, let me do this live. Like, it was like no thought. Like, I just clicked on it, bam, bam, bam. No one knew I was doing it. Went live, ended up having like, you know, 6 or maybe like 20 people, and then 6 people like commenting while I had this like 45-minute long consultation. It was very surreal, but it was very interesting, and, you know, a lot of positive feedback. So those are like the jewels that I enjoy, because it's like, you never know. You never, not to say how to improve as a person, but you never know how you can improve in your craft and in your language and what you're doing or not doing until you rewatch it or other people are giving you that feedback, you know. Amira hates it. Like, she completely hates it. She's like, I don't want to be in your live videos. I don't want to do this. You know. But I'm like I said, I'm all about it. And the funny thing is, I'm such an introvert that me doing these bursts of extroverted activities are fine. Amira lives in an extroverted space. So like, it's not necessary for her to have these like outwardly thing, because she's like, I'm already in conferences and doing all this other shit. Like, I don't need to be in your live video. So I was like, you know, so that's, yeah. But yeah, that's my whole thing about
it. so like, I was just thinking to myself, there's so many gems there and so many thoughts I already have. Right. I want to first ask you, what brought you joy this week?
Yeah,
something that brought you joy.
What brought me joy this week? Well, that's an interesting question. So I got my hair cut today. That was joyful. I got my hair cut today because I'm going to a conference next week. It is called the Photo Cookout, and it is a photography conference that is hosted and led by Black photographers. The only one in the country, the only one that I've ever heard of. So I'm thinking, you know, the only one. Yeah. And it started last year. They were in New Orleans. I think they had like 200 plus people, but because of the pandemic this year, they're only limiting it to 40. So, you know, so I'm excited about that. It's in Chattanooga. So I'm like anxious, got my hair cut, you know, need to get my clothes together. Got my mask. I'm actually, if you've been following my workout regimen, I've been working out every day because I'm going to, at the conference, I volunteered to be a model for a boudoir model. So I'm doing that for one of the workshops. There's a photographer by the name of Tony Black Magic who does a boudoir and intimate lifestyle photography. So she has a couple. She has a couple who are partners that are doing like a couples boudoir session, and then she has me that is doing like an intimate like lifestyle of men, like how to photograph men, you know. So I'll be kind of like modeling all the way down to my boxer briefs in front of maybe like, I think the max room is like 8, somewhere between 8 and 10 as the max participants in that room. So that's exciting. So that's like, I'm glad I got my hair cut, and it's like, it's getting me in the zone for that, because I leave Sunday morning, like Sunday at like 6 in the morning I leave, and then I land at 2 in the afternoon in Chattanooga.
I'm curious, before I ask what brought you joy and all that stuff, why did you feel like, or what was, you're doing this shoot, so what was the thought behind working out? Like, why did you feel like you had to work out for the shoot?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So the photographer tells people, she's like, you know, like, come as you are, like, you know, present as you want to be. And for me, working out was not to look a certain way. It was like, if I'm getting in front of camera, I want to feel a certain way. And I think though, like, I think there's a difference between the two that many people don't understand. Like, looking a certain way is like that outside perspective. Like, I want people to see me and having a certain body. And I'm like fuck that. Like, I don't care. You know, like I'm a dad, I have a dad bod. This is a pandemic. Like people have been ordering out. Like it is what it is, you know?
Right.
But I know that if I'm going to be stripped down to my boxers, I want to feel good,
Mm.
right? So I was like, what does feeling good look like to me? And it was just like just toning up my dad section, right? And so what I've been doing is I've been doing, like, for the past 3 weeks, I've been doing a 30-minute cycling. I've been doing a 10-minute core workout. And then the last week and a half, I I found out that she's going to be recording this, not live, but like having a video person recording this. I was like, shit. Amira's been on me, but she's like, maybe you should tone your arms too. And I was like, I don't want to do that. But now that I know I'm gonna be recorded, I decided to add in like a little like arm toning. So I do like a 15-minute, upper body like weight, arm toning type thing. And it just feels good. Like I'm tired as fuck though. Like I'm really tired because I wake up at 7 a.m., get my son out to school by 8, come back, exercise for about an hour, and then I'm like getting back to work. And normally I'm up to like 2 or 3 in the morning doing work, but because I'm up so early functioning, I crash at like 12, which means I don't get as much work done because I don't function work wise until after like 10:30, 11 o'clock. Like my brain just doesn't turn on.
Right.
So yeah, but no, yes. So that was the feeling, like wanting to feel like I did this, because I'm gonna be honest with you, and I told Amira this is like, after this is over, I'm not exercising every day. Like I'm not doing that again. Like I'll maybe do like 3 times a week. I'm not going live. I'm not. The only reason I went live is because it was for me, it was like accountability. I was like, this is what I'm doing. I'm putting this out there because I like to put, I'm like, say it loud and put it out there. I'm modeling for Boudoir, and I just want to feel better in front of a camera. And that's it.
So let's look. Michael, you're dropping so many gems right now. Okay, so let's reel it back. Reel it back, because King, I need to know what brought you joy this week. I need to know
what brought me joy.
Yeah.
Let's see. What brought me joy? Honestly, I have to say, I had quite a few marijuana seeds that I planted earlier this year, and most of them didn't pull through. And I was really disappointed. So I planted a few more, and those ones didn't pull through either. And I just so happened to put a couple in the ground, and I kind of just left them there. And I went out today. I mean, I've been noticing it, but I really didn't do much at all. And I went out today, and the plant is just doing really well. It looks
awesome,
super beautiful. And that's one thing that's bringing me a lot of joy. That's one thing that's bringing me a lot of joy. I think it's amazing to see how plants can just flourish in a natural habitat. And I think for me, the garden was like a back and forth all year, because with all of the stress that came with everything society has been putting at us, and especially the uprising of the movement and all of that trauma, it really took away from my ability to keep everything up in my self-care. And a lot of that comes into my garden, and most of my plants fell through. I had a hard time with my garden. It looked really good at the beginning of the year, and at the end of the year, it looked really sad. And so to see that plant just like flourishing and doing a good job, it felt like a lot of hope.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I'm gonna add in, I'm gonna go right into like the joy. It was actually today too. Like we were sitting outside in the sunshine, and you could see the garden from where we're at. But what brought me joy this week was sitting today, and King had said to me, "Did you know your hair is 2 different tones? You have all these colors going on in your hair, and you've never dyed your hair before." And I thought to myself, I never ever noticed that my hair naturally had like reds and like blondes and all this stuff in my hair and these two tones.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the first time, and the reason why it was such a joyous moment for me is because it's the first time I had actually taken the time to see myself. I actually posted this on my IG as well. I was like, wow, I never looked at myself. I never looked at myself, and a part of me wanted to go in the direction of being shameful about being even fearful enough to see myself. But instead, I just went in the direction of abundance, of how wonderful, how beautiful
Mm-hmm.
is it for you seeing yourself right now in this moment and to be celebrating your existence. And so that really brought me joy for the mindset shift that's occurring in me with looking at life with abundance rather than looking at life with lack. So that was been very joyful for me. I want to bring it back because there's so many gems said already.
Gotcha.
Like so many things I want to expand on. Because then
Can I add into your joy thing? I just want to can I share something with you?
Of course, please.
All right. So the photographer I was telling you about, Tony Blackmagic, she does self-portraits. She's very good with self-portraits, and she teaches self-portraiture, which that's what got me into doing self-portraits. And when I was thinking about it, my follow-up question was, have you ever thought about just doing self-portraits? And like literally just keeping it in your house, like you don't have, because it's so, that abundance that you're talking about and that joy of seeing yourself is different of looking in the mirror versus like you actually taking the time to set it up and just taking a picture. I'm in a meeting, okay? And taking a picture and then just like getting it just the way you want it, the light just the way you want it, like the way that light you guys were fixing before we recorded, like having that side light just like contouring your face or your hair to illuminate that, those different tones. Like that's the type of stuff that I'm just like, I wish more people would do that because they would see themselves, as you said, differently. Like a lot more differently.
That is exactly why I started my Kinga Gets Her Life Instagram profile, because I needed to see myself. I love it. Myself. Like I didn't see myself anywhere. And it's like there was people I was following, but I would always be like, I would always be looking at their bodies and say, well, this part of their body kind of looks like mine, but not this part. And nobody has this thing that I have, or it doesn't look like that. And we're so picky at our bodies, not just the parts that we're used to, like our bellies or whatever, but even just like our face or our hair, or whatever specific about our bodies. And the more that I take my own pictures and then look at them and like choose which ones I like or figure out how I want it to be and share them, the more I normalize my own body. And it's literally increased my self-love practice, like in such a way that I almost can't even say. It's like, it's unreal.
It's
right on.
To answer what you're saying is that I literally had this moment. I was watching, Kinga recently had an interview with Davina Davis,
Davina Davidson
for BLM Yoga, Rocket Yoga. What is?
I know her through BLM Rocket Yoga, but it was through Lululemon.
Through Lululemon, and Davina had partnered with Lululemon to bring. I want to get this, but to bring people, specifically Black people, into the conversation of yoga even more, right? So Kinga was talking just about Kinga Gets Her Life and that page, and I just started thinking to myself, what is it with my own thoughts about my body, right? Because I've literally just been going through this place in my life of like, what is my relationship like with myself? Like, dealing with talking about how I'm viewed in my body, how the world views me, what's important to me to be like non-binary, and understanding like how do I put in non-binary language in my everyday. So even when I have kids, it's like you don't have to be a girl or a boy. You don't ever have to be that. You can just be, and just the point of being, learning how to be, and how that never existed for me in my family and in the world. And so it brought me to the space of like, I wonder, like, I would like to do this campaign where maybe I take pictures I was thinking about these pictures of just my body. Because I wanted to do a shoot for my birthday, but I like didn't do that. I think I've been kind of just like, a little nervous about it. But just thinking about how can I be in my body and really illuminate my essence from a place where I've never done that before. And watching that interview really inspired me to really take another look at how I'm viewing myself and where are the moments that I need to be thinking abundantly and continuing to root out the self-hatred that I've been working out for a while. So just as I'm moving towards abundant thinking and moving away from the hatred that I was taught and practiced, that has been coming up for me. So it was long, but I wanted to say that, yeah, that's been real for me.
Yeah. So 2 seconds, set up a camera, tripod, just go. No one ever has to see it.
But I think that's the beauty of, it sounds like for me now listening to you, what makes you such a beautiful photographer, the way you capture, right? For even the way that you're talking about looking at the world and seeing the world and exploring the world. It's just my heart is so full listening to you talk, because it's as if you see in so many different ways, like you allow yourself to see in so many different ways. And that perspective is just, it's amazing, because when I talk about non-binary, like we come from this world, black, white, go to school, don't go to school, vaccine, non-vaccine, I hate you, I love you, you're good, you're bad, there's light, there's dark, right? And even having this conversation with you right now is changing a lot of just the way of viewing the world. And so I'm so interested in how you got into this. Like,
gotcha. Okay. So I'm trying to give you the non-biography answer. I will say this. I enjoy all things beauty. But it took me a while. I enjoy all things beauty, but it took me a while to realize that all things are beautiful, if that makes sense, right? And so because I was already like, all things beauty, I will always see the things, as I said, like the light that was on your face, like, and seeing the possibilities when King was talking about your hair, like just seeing like what that would look like, and then, walking outside, looking at birds, looking at flowers, trees, like just stopping. Like I'm not a fast-paced person. I may be a fast-paced person, but I take in a lot of information. I take in a lot of information visually. So I'm always seeing light, colors, patterns, shape, like all of that stuff. And I didn't know that this was the case until I matured as an artist. But this is probably what was always innately there, because I was in art school since high school. Like I was taking art classes in graphic design, and then I went to art, did digital art major in college, and then arts administration for my master's. And I've just always followed this art for cause type of path, right? And within that, and trying to teach other people how to see the beautiful things and talk about the things that they want to in a creative manner, I realized like just more visualization, more acknowledgement within myself, that and opening myself up to just experiencing more, to the point where now I'm at the point where I don't see all things beauty, but all things are beautiful. And it's my job to present that in ways that people don't necessarily see. I take that ownership, and I take that responsibility. One of the things that I had a client, I'll never forget this, I always tell people, I had a client that says like, you make ordinary people look beautiful. And that resonate with me is because I don't work with luxury clients at all. I have no aspirations of working with luxury clients. I just had this conversation yesterday. I love working with everyday people because everyday people, you know, like us, right? We live our lives, we see ourselves how we see them, but sometimes we want to feel beautiful. And sometimes it just takes that us seeing ourselves the way other people see it and capturing not only portraits but events, but and capturing your occasions, you know, and be like, oh, I look good in this dress, or this angle looks really nice and flat, you know, like that type of stuff. And that's what I bring to that. Everybody should have access to that type of beautification. And along with that, you know, like I have I think I said this to a friend. I was like, I have a luxury brand for the nonprofit spirit, right? And then so I know that the work that I produce is amazing. I'm at that point in my life that I know that I do great work, you know, but I don't just want to do great work for people that like have all the money in the world and can pay me thousands of dollars, right? I want to do great work for everyday people who don't think they can afford it, but they really should invest in themselves.
Why?
Right? Why what?
Why? I mean, because I'm hearing you talk about the people, and I know like we all have these different experiences with different people. You know, counterculture educator, our work is just with people, right? Just like the nuance and the ideas of people, you know, and even when you're talking about live, like being on live, and just thinking about me also as an introverted spirit, I come alive when conversation happens. Like it's just really, really my heart, you know, being able to be in spaces and breathe and listen to people. And so when I think about, I ask you why are the people so important to you?
Like, oh, so it's not the people. It's not the people aren't important to me. And I like I don't, as an introvert, I really don't care about people that much. Like I like my own time. I like my own space. I like relaxing, you know, chilling. My favorite moments, like when my wife asks me what I want for my birthday, I'm like, just take the kids and leave. Like just go somewhere for the day. Let me have my own time. So, but I acknowledge that, you know, it's not the people that really bring that out in me. It's the stories, right? So I've come this year to identify myself as a storyteller first and a photographer second, right? And I say it's the stories because it's not just about the people, it's about the interactions, it's about the chemistry, it's about the atmosphere, it's about their environment, which is why I don't just do portraits. You know, I love weddings because all of that comes into play. When people are not fixated on there's a camera in front of my face, what do I do? And they're more acknowledging of this moment in their life. Like I'm just like, wow, I can't believe all this is going on my family. And then I'm there capturing that energy. That energy between the first time that they're together, you know, like that. I'm like, I always tell people, I was like, I'm not here. Like, it's just you two. Like, just, I'll interrupt if I see something and want to rep, but like, it's just you two. And capturing those organic moments in those environments, that's the story that's the love story that I like telling. You know, with families, the family chemistry and how they interact together. Like, yeah, we're going to get, you know, those nice posy pictures. But the reality is, I want to see how you guys organically react. How do you guys touch each other? How do you lean on each other? Like, what is your relationship? Like, if you fight a lot, like, let's capture like something. What does that tension look like on camera? Because then it's like you look back and it's like, oh yes, I remember like this. These are my kids. Like this is, you know, they love to wrestle and tussle and creating those beautiful moments and capturing that story. And then not only that, but having something tangible that people can walk away with as a representation of that story. That's my why. Like that's what matters to me. So that's what I said. It's not the people per se. It's really the stories, and it's really highlighting that, because as I said before, like life happens so fast and people walk by all these beautiful things all the time. Like the fact, Kinga, where you're talking about your little plant, that's strung up. Like so many people don't appreciate those little things because everything else is like being thrown at us. So the fact that I can slow down time because I'm already there, like my mind is already there. I can slow down time and take snapshots, or even with video, capture what I call the in-between, those magical moments in time that the people that I work with, or the people that I do work with, whether they're paid or unpaid, that I can give them this, that they can like cherish forever. That's beautiful for me. Like that's, yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Oh, go ahead.
I love that. Well, because I remember, because we were living in Philly, not together, but at the same time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we spent a lot of time together, and I remember then we were going to a breakdancing class together. You remember that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that was the last time that I remember experiencing your work, like any of your art or your creative spirit, until you started to come out with the photography. And I remember you were going to school for graphic design, but I didn't really see any of the work that you were doing. I had experienced you in 2050 where we were doing more performance art.
Mm-hmm.
So I just know you as a creative person all around, and that you kind of just have a lot of different things going on, which is very similar to me and DW. And so I guess I'm curious as to like what it is that brought you to photography specifically, because I took briefly a photography class in university, and I really love photography in terms of capturing images, but it's not easy to do at all to like get the image that you're looking for. I mean, you can put it on the auto. I usually use auto myself because it's a lot, all of the pieces, and I see you doing just some really beautiful work, and I'm curious as to like why photography in terms of storytelling when you have all these other amazing talents. What drew you to photography?
So I think that I'm a visual artist. In high school, I took art class with like pen and paper drawing. I enjoyed that, but I hated the mistakes. Like when you made a mistake, you had to erase it and then you start all over again. Like I hate starting all over again, but I enjoy the practice, I enjoy the outcome of painting. But again, if you mess it up, it's just like you start, all over again type thing. And so I gravitated into digital art where I can just hit delete. And it was so easy. You have an eraser and all that fun stuff. And so I think that trajectory took me into a realm of creating visual works of art digitally. And in college, I did all different types of like graphic design, photography, videography, like all that stuff. And I actually graduated college doing video work. And I think, Kinga, when we were working together, we were working together, right? I brought you in for some stuff, right? Yeah. Like you were doing like, I think you're doing dance stuff with my kids or something. I forget. I like vaguely remember. Am I wrong?
No, I don't think so. I think that I do remember doing something, but I don't remember.
Gotcha. I think it was like dance stuff. But the reason, so I graduated doing video production, right? And I basically ran a video production summer camp. Like after 4 years, I developed my senior project into a digital storytelling summer camp that I was doing. And I work with Lexi, so she helped me out with some of the stuff. Kinga, I think you came in with some stuff during the school year. And I got to a point where I needed to invest in my equipment. Like, to move forward with my own artistry, I couldn't rely on my salary to pay for it. And I couldn't rely on the nonprofit that I was working for to buy better equipment because they were already strapped for the stuff I was asking them to buy, right? And so at this time, this is what, 2009 maybe? I was like, I need to invest in one. It wasn't a question of whether I was going to invest in one. It's like, I need to invest in one, either video or photo. Photo had a larger return on investment, a quicker return on investment at the time than video did because of technology. Now it's all the same. You know, people can take really dope videos with their cameras, with their cell phones, you know, but that wasn't the case, you know, in like 2009, 2010.
Right.
So I went the photo realm. I started taking portraits, teaching myself portraiture, like what that looks like. I fell in love with landscape. So a lot of my early work, if you look on my Facebook, is a lot of still life, you know, environmental stuff. Just the details of spaces, whether it's a fence or gears or, you know, so I've always had that eye to recognize those things. And I would do solo photo walks. I would just go out and walk with my camera on lunch breaks, walk around town and just take pictures and edit and just create. And I enjoyed that. And so I did a portrait of a friend for Valentine's Day. And it was just like, I want to take a picture of a couple because I didn't have any images of a couple. So I was like, can I take a picture of you? They were like, sure. You know, that couple session landed me my first wedding. So she went to school with somebody, and I don't even think they had talked, but somebody she went to school with said, I love the work. Can you photograph my wedding? And I was like, sure. I didn't know what the hell, like, I didn't know what the fuck to do at all. You know? And this is 2011. No, 2010. This is 2010 because the wedding's in 2011 because it's on my anniversary and my wife will never let me live it down because I photographed 3 weddings on our anniversaries. So I always hear that. So this is 2011. I photographed my first wedding. It was a shit show, but I loved it. Like, I loved.
Oh, wait, tell us more. What?
Yeah,
like,
why?
Because so it's like going into a space where you do so much research, right? I was studying how do you photograph weddings? What equipment do you need? I rented stuff, you know, like I had all the knowledge, but no experience, like 0 experience photographing weddings because all my work had come from like friends standing in front of my camera. So this was like my first real type of gig. And it was just like, it was all over the place. It was a great wedding, but it was just like, it was like, you know, there's a difference between, and I guess in social work and psychology, you're just like, throw the textbook out the window, like, because the reality is it doesn't work sometimes, you know? And this is one of those moments where I was just like, okay, I have all these tools, but I have to adapt and I have to switch and I have to be on the fly and, you know, all the other stuff. And I never forget this moment. We went out to a park in Philly, downtown, and I took the bridal party. It had just it rained the night before. I took the bridal party into the park to do some pictures, and all the hills were sinking. I was like, I didn't even know that was going to happen. Because the ground was wet and it was in the grass. And they were like, oh my God, this is, you know, I had to take my time. I was like, I never even knew that was a thing.
Of course.
You know, and so it's like all of these little things. But I look back on that wedding and I see the potential. And I was like, my work has come so far, but the principles and elements of design and the artistry is in there, like in some of those pictures. And so like now I'm just like yes, like I had it then, and I've just been perfecting it.
Yeah.
Like just been, like working, educating, and just perfecting my craft. And the more I take pictures, the more I get better. The more I study better photographers, the more I get better. That stuff. And rolling this back into the people, like why people. And I talk about storytelling. This bride always, like we're not like friends, but we tell each other happy anniversary like every year. Like every year she reposts the photos, like she loves her wedding photos because it was such a great experience for her. And I was just like, I'm just like figuring like this shit out, and it was amazing for her. And so that was like my first taste into, like, okay, this was a whirlwind, but it was fun. I learned a lot of things that I will never do again, but I want to try this again. So, I've done, at different weddings, I would, take pictures. I think, Lexi and Gabri's wedding, I took some pictures that, not like the official photographer, but like captured like images, and at other friends' weddings, I started to build a portfolio. And then we moved to Baltimore. I forget what year we moved to Baltimore. And I was doing photo walks there. And at that time, I knew enough about photography to like do damage. Like I knew what I was doing. And on a photo walk, somebody approached me and asked me if I'll be interested in second shooting for their company. And I said yes.
What is that?
And what was that?
What does that mean?
Oh, to become a second photographer for their wedding company. Yeah. So I had an interview, they liked my work, and they hired me to join their company, and I was a second shooter. So basically there's a primary and then somebody who, was assisting for about a year until I became the lead shooter, and I was working with them for about 3 years. And at that time, I learned all about weddings. I learned about the business because I'm visual and I watch how people do, and it allows me to know what to and what not to do and see how that works. So that was a great experience. And then I had a portfolio, then now I started getting weddings of my own and then building that up to the point where I've been in State College for 4 years now. So it's 2020. What is that? 2016, that summer, I did 40 weddings in the DC metro area. Never again will I do that.
Yeah,
that was way too much. But just to go from 2011 to 2016 to just doing 40 weddings on my own, I was like I'm there, And then I moved here and I basically went full time. So I've been full time for 4 years, and that's all I do. That's all I advertise. It's not all I do, but it's all I advertise for. Like that's what, the majority of my income comes from weddings. And because of my approach to weddings, because of my approach to storytelling, other people hire me to do different things. So like senior portraits or families or even real estate, because the attention to detail with architecture, with food, with fashion, with attire, all that stuff, I incorporate in my work because it's easy for me to see it. And because it's easy for me to see it, it's easy for me to capture, and then people can see the possibilities and the potential and the work that they would need. Like, I know you're not a branding person, but I like your work. Can you do this? And I'm just like, yeah, like, let's do it. Let's rock it out.
Like I'm hearing so much. Some of the things that I'm thinking about or that coming up for me when you're just talking about your experiences is really the interpersonal skills, right? And the reason why that comes up, because I hear you talk about vulnerability a lot. And so far in this conversation, at least, like leaning into vulnerability, and also like I'm hearing so much of people really being able to feel like they can connect with you in a way that it sounds is is kind of, it's not superficial, right? So it's not superficial. So people are feeling this connection with you. And the reason why I bring it up is because I think sometimes, I know for me, I think a lot about what is my, like, how am I going to connect with people in the work that I do, right? And being, whenever we're holding a circle, or whenever we're just being around people and people are looking to us to maybe lead an interaction, and just thinking about like being vulnerable and then allowing that to show, and that interpersonal skill set. Because I know, like, I've been with photographers that don't value interpersonal skills at all. And that makes it a very different shoot, you know? So I'm also curious too, like, when I'm talking about interpersonal skills, does that come up for you? Do you feel like the connection matters? Like, even though you say, you know, it's not necessarily the people, but there's an experience you're providing.
You already kind of spoke to how you said, you know, just you're here and I'm not, you know, but I mean, it's more than, it's got to be more than that, because it's that you make it sound so easy, you know?
Yeah. So I just went through a rebrand. My first rebrand, where I actually work with a branding person to identify my why, my purpose, and attaching that to imagery, to colors, to fonts, to logos, you know, that type of stuff, right? And the one thing that came out, one question that she asks is, what do you want your clients to know, or what do you want your clients to feel as a result of working for you, right? And one of the words I used was fulfilled. And then so she was like, no one has ever said that before.
Wow.
You know, people have written like, I want them to be happy or satisfied or excited. And I realized, you know, after she said that, I was just like, but that's me. Like, I want them to not be satisfied, but fulfilled, that they now have something to hold on to. Like, that's what they wanted, you know? And so now we stretch that out to my tagline, not my tagline, but what I'm saying more often is feel fulfilled knowing that your story is being told your way. And so for me, what that means is that I want all of my clients to not only trust in me, but know that the way that they want to be viewed and the way that they want to be captured, we're going to make that happen in the most creative way possible that I can do. But it's still going to be them. What is that?
How do you do that?
So let me give you,
like,
I want to know how, when we expand upon that, let me just give,
I mean, I know it's your secret sauce.
Right, but hold on.
I don't mind.
I want to pause, because we're going to get into that, but I want to be specific too. Because when Kinga and I talk about what is our brand, right? Because going through the marketing, going through all of that stuff.
We're going through that right now.
We're going through that too, right? And one of the words that comes up for us is tenderness. Is because meeting people with tenderness is so important to us, right? And there's a specific way that we embody that. There's a specific way that we exist in the world, we move in the world, we interact with people through that. And it's part of it is an innate to us, who we are as human beings. And another part of that is actually practicing and wanting to be in space with people and creating ways and opportunities for us to be in space with people. So it's just an activation. And so I wanted to like kind of, is it expound? Is that the word? Expound? What? Expand, maybe?
Sounds good.
Right. Expand on that, because you're saying something that is like platinum. It's a golden piece that even in interacting in all other worlds, and my experience is that when I talk about interpersonal skills, is being able to come across, when you say fulfilled, there's a way that you're moving. There's an energy that you're giving. There's a way that you're presenting, which also I think is important, because your body in the world, like also being a Black male identifying person, right? And that you're moving and people are feeling so fulfilled and so warmed by you, which is really counter to a lot of what people are saying in society about Blackness. It's specifically about Black men too, right?
You're saying like, you're asking them, you're telling them to trust you that you will
Yes.
do this for them, in
Yes.
which it's like, but how you know,
Yeah.
what is it
Yeah.
about the way that you're interacting with people that's allowing you
Yes.
to see them and have them trust you? Like there's
Yep.
That's why I just
Yep.
want to
So
say
I had that answer. Yep.
yeah, what you're doing is
Yep.
it's so counter.
Yeah.
It's so counter to
Mm-hmm.
the imagery that people are given on a regular basis of the
Mm-hmm.
way they identify someone like you. And that's why it's so amazing. And when I see you and I think about you, I think tenderness. And that was the reason why I was like, we got to talk to Michael. So please, we want to hear your answer now.
Yes. So there's this, well, I would say all good minds, great minds, whatever you want to call it, they all follow different people and they all get knowledge from different places, right? So one of the people that I follow, his name is Ben Hartley. He's a world renowned photographer. And he's very philosophical about his approach to working with clients. And so you said something very key, Kinga, is how do I get them, or how do I tell them to trust me? I don't. That's the thing, right? And so the thing that Ben talks about, which I really resonate with, is that I'm not convincing anyone why I'm the best choice at all. I'm showing them me and letting them to decide for themselves if I'm the best choice. And so what I do in my consultations, that a lot of people don't do, which is very key, people don't do this to their kids. They don't do this in school. They don't do this to their partners, their coworkers, is listen, right? And so what I do is I listen to their story. I listen to who they are. We already talked about how I can see chemistry and bring that together. So listening to their love story, how they met, getting them to talk about themselves. Because most vendors, most photographers don't even care about who these people are. They just want, they have a list of questions. All right, let me know where I need to be, blah, 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 blah. Even if you're scheduling a portrait session, okay, you have this many outfits, you have this, but like, who are you? Like, tell me about who you are, because who you are is coming to the session. Who you are is getting married.
Yes.
Who you are is showing up. And who you are should be hanging on your wall, not who you want to be. Right? And so that's the approach that I take. I listen, I talk to them, I get them talking about themselves, I get them talking about their relationships, I get them talking about their wedding. And a lot of people ask me, they're just like, like, what do you say to get them on a consultation? Like I literally have 2 lines. I was like, I would love to learn more about you, your story, and your wedding vision. Let's talk. And I want to give you an opportunity to learn about me as well. So during that talk, like already, and you know this, if someone comes up to you and starts talking about them right away, you're automatically like, you get certain vibes, But if someone comes up to you and it's just like, so, like, just like, tell me about yourself. And they're not interrupting. They're engaging in the conversation and they're letting you just talk about whatever you want, about your yoga, about your hair, about your garden. Like, that's fulfillment. Like, somebody cares. Like, somebody cares enough to know and learn about me. So that's my approach. And because of that, I feel like people are more trusting because they're already contacting me. I realized this early on in my career, is that they already like my work. The goal is to see if they like me. And to see if I like them.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because they already like my work. So that's half the battle. And so it's just a conversation. My consultations tend to be like 45 minutes long because we are just having a dialogue. And part of that dialogue is listening. And then the other part of that dialogue is regurgitating what they're saying and asserting my position as an expert in my field to help them visualize their wedding day before it happens. Right? And so what that looks like is like, they'll say like, I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about that, and we're going to have it here. And this is, so I get all the details. And then we basically, at the end of the call, no matter if they're a year out or 6 months out, we plan out the entire day. Because I already, I've photographed probably over 200 weddings. So I know the layout. Like I know what it's supposed to be. I know what people typically do.
Right.
And based off the conversation, I know what they're interested in doing. And I can walk them through and paint that picture of what it's going to look like to make it seem less chaotic and more manageable. Right. And so those pieces that I assert into
anybody getting married wants that. That's like that's the key.
Right.
Yeah.
So those pieces that I assert into my consultations, I don't just do this in weddings. I do this with seniors. I do this with families. Like I take the time to get to know who they are and what they want, because I want to give them what they want and what, like, add my creative energy to that, you know, because they're hiring me to take this idea that they, you know, can't think of, or they don't know how to put into words, or they don't visualize, and they're hiring me to bring it to life, you know? And so that's my goal. That's where that fulfillment is. And that's how I get the majority of my clients. Like if I get them on a phone, like I know that 9 times out of 10, if I don't get the consultation, it's not because of me. It tends to be because of finances. You know, maybe they just couldn't, they thought they could, but they couldn't swing it, you know, that type of thing, which is fine. Like I'm absolutely fine with that. But last year I wasn't like this. I was just emailing people. And then I was like, you know what? I need to stop. Like, I just need to talk. I just need to talk to people. And once I realized that no one's talking to people, when I say no one, I'm overgeneralizing, but like no one is in any industry, you know, they're more, okay, like, tell me what you want and let me give it to you. I don't care what you want. I care what you need. Like, let me know what you need. What do you need in your wedding day? What is ideal, and how can I help you bring that to life? And having that, you know, that service oriented approach to it, having that listening approach to it, having that, you know, me not just having my photographer hat on and actually being available to troubleshoot different things and to give them ideas and, you know, that type of stuff. It's reassuring. It's reassuring for couples that, like, he knows what he's talking about. His work is good. I like him. I enjoy the personality. Like, why not? Like, we're going to be there together for the majority of the day.
Yeah.
So you want to be with someone that you can not only vibe with, but that you can trust will do the job that you ask them to do. And then so after that's done, then I surprise them with more, you know? So what is that, you know, what does their album look like? What does their print look like? You know, like that type of stuff that they're just like, oh my God, like I didn't even remember any of this stuff happening.
Yeah.
You know, because things, again, going back to that, people live life in the fast lane and they don't see all the little things. And that's kind of what I bring to the table. So yeah, so that's where that fulfillment is. That's how I realize how I bring fulfillment to people's lives. And it starts with listening.
And I just love everything you're saying, because I feel that it really is, I hope it's a reminder to not just me, but to anybody who's also watching this back. It's anything that you're doing, literally anything that you're doing, it all starts back with relationships and how we interact with each other, how we're paying attention to each other, how we're recognizing each other's humanity. You're taking pictures, but you're really doing so much more than that. You're allowing there to be space for them to just live their experience without worrying about the pictures. You're creating it, like, or not creating, but I guess adding to this atmosphere and highlighting parts of the atmosphere. You're capturing their whole story. You're adding to their whole experience, because you, like you said, are interacting with them and having this whole relationship with them. And then you leave them with like a whole capture of that. And I know that you think of the whole thing from start to finish. I mean, you're talking to them at the beginning, already planning out the first day, and then all the way until, you know, it physically is in their hand. Like, how are you going to print it? Do you want it in this album or whatever? I mean, I know you help people with all that too. So, I mean, it's just so beautiful, because I think people just they undervalue what they do sometimes so much. And you can think of a photographer and just think of pictures, but you're not talking about pictures. You're talking about people and interactions.
Experiences.
Yeah.
And I want to, like, I know you have something else to to say, Michael, but I also want to like give us, because I know we're rounding out a little bit, and I wanted to kind of ask you. I'm gonna give you a chance to, because actually, what is it that you had to say before I go into this?
Well, I was saying that everything that you just mentioned when you were saying like from start to finish, like that's where the storyteller comes in.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like that's why I identify as a storyteller first and a photographer second, for that specific reason.
So I wanted to ask you, what is it? People who are looking at this and are like, oh man, I want to know, like, what is it do you feel like people need to know that they can leave with, something that they can take away, the gem of what it is that you feel like you would want people to know about even your work, or maybe how they can explore their own work? What is it the takeaway that you feel like?
I think my takeaway is for people to experiment more. I mean, we started this conversation with like self-portraits. We started this conversation with vulnerability. We started this conversation about transparency. And I would not be where I am if I didn't practice that in my own life, not just my work, but my own life. And that just comes from experimentation, from trial and error, from like if I fail, okay, what can I do better? And still like putting my failures out there. Like, you know, I exist in this space where I want people to see me, and if they don't like me, fuck it. Like that's where I am in my artistry. That's where I'm trying to be in my and me being Black, living in a white space. And I just think the more people experiment with being comfortable and identifying who they are, and going for what they want to do. And that's the biggest piece, is that you could be as vulnerable, as comfortable, but if you're not doing what you want to do, it's all for none, because you're not happy, you know? So that's the takeaway. That's the takeaway. Just practice and experiment with just like opening yourself up to new possibilities, because you never know. Like, you never know what can happen. You never know what new things are coming. You know, maybe somebody's watching this for the first time and they're like, oh my God, like I didn't even know this existed and this was amazing.
Right.
You know? So, but that comes from just trying new things, which I feel like people are so tried and true in their ways. But I'll be 35 this year, and I'm just like life is so short to be tried and true. And you're like, if you think you got it, then you're already done, because there's always more. There's always more.
Yes.
So yeah, so that's that would be my takeaway.
I love that. And I love how it ties into when you talked about being live, because the way that you are just exposed and having to be kind of in the moment, no take backsies, you know what I mean? And then also with the self-portraits of just, you know, capturing yourself in the moment and being able to, I mean, that's the way I described it, and like being able to see yourself through that. I love that. I love how much you're like shining this light on how photography can be and video can be just like
so much more
powerful practice.
It's so the self-portraits, you know, of course the vulnerability part is in there, but for me, it's practicing my craft. Like, it's literally, I'm doing this for myself. I just put it out there, you know? I'm doing this because I want to test new equipment. I want to test different lighting. I want to play around with stuff so that I could be better for my clients. And instead of waiting for a client to test on, because you shouldn't test on clients. So instead of waiting for anybody to test, I use what I have in my space. And I just add that to my outwardly persona to be like, you know, this is me. You know, if it's shitty, if you don't like it, like, okay, I don't care. But like, this is the type of, I'm just trying. Like, everyone is just trying. You know, everyone is just trying. We're trying to make it. We're trying to figure out life. We're trying to do, you know, all this stuff. And so, yeah, I mean, that's anything that I do, anything you see me post is not me. I never post something that I'm just like, this is amazing and I want to share this with you. Like, that's not what I'm doing at all. You know, I do that maybe on Instagram to get clients, but for my Facebook, I post like, this is me. This is what I like. like, if you like this stuff, I invite you into my space.
Yeah.
You know, like that type of thing. And that's always how I've been. And I attract clients who like that. I attract clients who enjoy that vulnerability. I attract clients who enjoy that creativity. And I attract people at my network who want to be surrounded by that energy.
So I want to talk about, I mean, it is beautiful. It is the law of attraction, for real. And gift giving. So we do gift giving on our little conversations. And what that's about is the gift of word. So we're not in a circle, but when I hold circle process, I'd really love to leave with this or to end with this, which is each of us being able to give each other the gift of word that will help you travel through whatever journey that you're on, maybe through your day, that will inspire you to move forward. And so I always say to people in the circle, if you have a word, generally you'd be sitting next to people, so you know who to pass your gift to, so you know what kind of word you would create for that experience. So I guess right now, let's say, Michael, would you want to pass words to Kinga, maybe?
A word or just words?
Well, I'll give you an example, but I'm just kind of wanting to create the order of the circle.
You pick one word and then you gift it to them, but then you can elaborate on the word if you like.
Okay, I have the word.
But hold on, I'm not ready though. I'm not ready yet. So first I want to start.
Michael's giving his word to me.
So yeah, exactly. So
okay.
First I want to say,
I give them to you.
Okay, so you'll give your words to Kinga. Kinga will give her word to me, and I'll give my word to you. So what I say is, when you have your word, put it in your hand and close your hand. And when your hand is closed, what you'll do is you'll pass that word to the next person. So I'm going to start. So I'll go to you, then you'll go to Kinga, and then Kinga will go to me. So I'm thinking of my word. Okay. So Michael, I'm passing to you abundance. Abundance because you're so bright, and you've brought so much abundance to my heart that I wish for you tremendous abundance in your work, continued abundance in your spirit, and continued abundance of joy around you to attract continued abundance.
Thank you. So Kinga, my word is fulfillment, and I pass this to you because I want you to wake up every day and go to sleep every day knowing that you've lived that day the most fulfilled as you could have.
Ooh, I needed that. Thank you. My word for you, DW, is courage. And I want you to feel the courage to accept yourself in the moment and to get in front of the camera and start to practice and do experimentation with your own self-portrait. I know that you've been wanting to.
Oh, thanks. I needed that one too. And so can you let people know where we can find you?
Yeah, so if you're interested in my work, if you're interested in my wedding work, you can go to my website at www.mtdphotography.com. I have an Instagram, which is mtdphotography1914, that has a lot more work and a lot more me on there. Or you can have a Facebook page, which is very transparent, Michael T. Davis, and then a photography Facebook page, Michael T. Davis Photography, which has a lot more behind the scenes and kind of what I'm doing within my creative atmosphere. So, yep.
Okay. Well, we want to thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. That was awesome.
I'm glad to be here. This was nice. As you could tell, I love talking about life through creative lens.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's everything we're about. And honestly, it was just so good to hear about your whole story and all of your work and the way that you see it, because it's a whole behind the scenes, you know. I mean, we can see your images and we can see, you know, what you post and all of that, but to kind of hear where the inspiration comes from and your perspective on it all shines a whole nother really bright light that I'm really glad that we were able to experience.
And this is also like encouraging, because a lot of people ask us what creative leaders are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about, oh, I'm a creative person and I like leadership. It's not about that. It's really, we are all innately creative. Mm-hmm. We are all gifted with creativity, and it's the choice of whether or not we want to pursue that creativity. You can be in the tech world, you can be, math is creativity. Mm-hmm. Like everything is creative, and it's about whether or not you want to be shifting, right? If you want to have creativity and want to maybe be a change maker and shift that space into leadership, right? So that is really what it's about. And it's the encouraging to let people know, like, for real, as we say, you can do it, you belong, and you're most definitely
enough. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
No problem.